The Rocky Mountains have thousands of hiking trails. Most are marked on maps, maintained by rangers, and visited by tourists every year. But there is one trail that locals refuse to name after sunset. They simply call it the Devil's Trail. Some believe it's just an old legend invented to scare adventurous hikers away from dangerous cliffs. Others insist something far older lives deep within those forests, something that doesn't hunt with claws or teeth. It hunts memories. According to an old story passed down through generations, anyone taken by the trail isn't just lost. They're erased. Not only do they disappear, but every photograph, every message, every memory of them slowly vanishes as if they had never existed. Most people dismiss it as folklore. Until the summer of 2019, 6 college friends planned a week-long hiking trip near the abandoned mining town of Raven Creek, Montana. They were experienced hikers, carried modern equipment, GPS devices, satellite phones, cameras, and enough supplies to survive for days. Only one of them returned. The strangest part wasn't that 5 people vanished. It was that, according to official records, only one person had ever entered the trail. This is the story of what happened. The morning sun shone brightly over the winding mountain roads as Jake steered his SUV toward Raven Creek. Music blasted through the speakers while laughter filled the vehicle. Emma leaned her head against the window, watching endless forests roll past. Ryan sat in the back seat, making terrible jokes that somehow made everyone laugh. Sophia held her camera out the window whenever they passed breathtaking views. Noah quietly studied an old hiking map he had bought online. Beside him, Lily adjusted the small camera she used for her travel videos. "This is going to be our best trip yet," Lily said with a smile. Jake grinned. "Just wait until we reach Devil's Peak." Ryan laughed. "First one to complain about the hike buys dinner." Everyone agreed. None of them noticed the weather changing. The farther they drove, the darker the sky became. The mountains seemed taller, the forests thicker, the road emptier. Eventually, they reached a weathered wooden sign. "Welcome to Raven Creek. Population, unknown." Ryan frowned. "Unknown." Jake shrugged. "Probably just an old sign." The town appeared almost frozen in time. Most buildings were abandoned. Storefront windows were cracked. Old pickup trucks rusted quietly beside empty streets. Only one small general store appeared to be open. Jake pulled into the parking lot. "We should grab some supplies." Inside, shelves were packed with canned food, batteries, rope, and camping gear. Behind the counter sat an elderly man with silver hair and tired eyes. He watched them carefully without saying a word. Jake smiled. "Morning." The old man nodded slowly. "You folks heading toward the mountain?" Jake pointed toward the hiking map. "That's the plan." The man's expression changed instantly. He glanced toward the window before lowering his voice. "Which trail?" Noah answered. "The old northern route." Silence filled the store. The old man's face grew pale. "Turn around." Ryan chuckled. "That bad?" The man ignored the joke. "You can hike anywhere else." Jake smiled politely. "We'll be fine." The old man stared directly into Jake's eyes. "No. You don't understand. There are places where people disappear." And then, he hesitated. "They disappeared twice." Emma frowned. "What does that mean?" The old man slowly leaned across the counter. "The first time, the trail takes your body. The second time, it takes every memory you ever existed." Nobody laughed anymore. Ryan finally broke the silence. "So, ghost stories." The old man shook his head. "I've lived here 73 years. I've buried friends. I've buried family. But there are names I can't even remember anymore." His hands trembled. "I only know they existed because someone left their names carved into old trees." Sophia looked uncomfortable. Jake thanked the man, paid for the supplies, and led everyone outside. As soon as the store door closed, Ryan burst into laughter. "That was incredible. We've officially found the creepiest old man in America." Lily smiled. "My viewers are going to love this." Only Noah remained quiet. Emma noticed.
"What?"
Noah unfolded the old hiking map again. "This trail. It isn't marked on modern maps." Jake shrugged. "Probably because nobody uses it anymore." Noah looked toward the mountains. Or maybe they stopped marking it. Nobody answered. An hour later, they reached the trailhead. A faded wooden board stood beside the entrance. Almost every warning sign had rotted away. Only one sentence remained, barely readable. "If you hear someone call your name from the trees, do not answer." Ryan pulled out his phone, definitely taking a picture of that. No signal. He frowned. "Already?" Jake checked his own phone. Nothing. Emma laughed. "We came here to escape our phones." They shouldered their backpacks and stepped onto the trail. Behind them, a cold wind moved through the trees. The old warning sign creaked softly. It almost sounded like someone whispering. The six friends continued deeper into the forest, unaware that every step carried them farther from the world they knew. And somewhere, hidden among the endless pines, something had already begun counting. The deeper the six friends walked into the forest, the quieter the world became. At first, no one noticed. They were too busy talking, laughing, and admiring the towering pine trees that stretched high above them. Shafts of afternoon sunlight filtered through the branches, painting golden patches across the trail. Lily walked a few steps behind the group, filming everything. Day 1, she said cheerfully into the camera. We're about 3 miles into the Devil's Trail. So far, we've seen absolutely nothing supernatural. Ryan grinned and waved at the camera. If a monster is watching, now's your chance to become famous. Everyone laughed. The sound echoed through the trees, and then stopped, almost instantly. Emma frowned. Did you hear that? Jake looked around. Hear what? The echo. She pointed into the forest. It sounded wrong. Noah stood still, listening. There aren't any birds. The group fell silent. He was right. Just a few minutes earlier, birds had been chirping all around them. Now the forest was completely still. Not a single insect buzzed. Not a single leaf moved. Only the slow whisper of wind drifted between the trees. Ryan forced a laugh. Guess even the birds know this place is creepy. Jake checked his watch. We'll set up camp before dark. Let's keep moving. About 20 minutes later, Sophia suddenly stopped walking. Guys. Everyone turned. She was staring at the muddy trail behind them. What is it? Emma asked. Sophia slowly pointed toward the ground. Count the footprints. Jake looked down. Fresh boot prints stretched behind the group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then, a 7th trail of footprints. They were slightly larger than the others. Noah crouched beside them. These weren't here earlier. Ryan shrugged. Maybe another hiker passed before us. No, Noah replied quietly. The mud is still wet. Jake frowned. So these prints were made only a few minutes ago. Silence settled over the group. Emma looked back down the trail. There was no one there. Nothing but endless trees. Jake finally smiled. We're letting that old man's story get into our heads. He stepped forward. Come on. Reluctantly, everyone continued hiking. None of them noticed that the 7th footprints continued beside theirs, perfectly matching their pace. As evening approached, the forest became darker, far sooner than expected. The sunlight disappeared behind thick clouds. Lily paused to record another video. This place is beautiful. She slowly turned the camera toward the trees, but it definitely feels strange. Later that night, while reviewing the footage beside the campfire, she froze. Hidden between 2 pine trees, far in the background, a tall, dark figure stood perfectly still. Its face couldn't be seen. It wasn't moving. It simply watched them. Lily's heartbeat quickened. Jake. He looked up. What? She handed him the camera. Jake replayed the clip. The figure remained there. Ryan leaned closer. That's probably a tree. Sophia shook her head. No, he wasn't there when she was filming. Jake zoomed in. The image became blurry. Then the screen glitched. Static flashed across the display. When the picture returned, the figure had vanished. Nobody spoke. Jake forced a smile. Probably a camera error. Lily wanted to believe him, but she couldn't ignore one detail. She had never seen the camera glitch before. Not once. And for the rest of the evening, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was standing just beyond the firelight, watching them. Morning arrived without sunlight. A thick gray fog covered the forest so completely that the trees only a few yards away looked like dark shadows. The air felt damp and unusually cold, and every sound seemed muffled, as if the woods were swallowing every noise. Jake crawled out of his tent and stretched. Everyone awake. One by one, the others stepped outside. Ryan immediately complained. I thought this was supposed to be summer. Emma smiled weakly. It definitely doesn't feel like it. Lily picked up her camera. I'll get some shots before the fog clears. Noah, however, wasn't looking at the weather. He was staring at the ground. His face slowly lost all color. Jake. What? Come here. The others gathered around. Surrounding the campsite were footprints. Hundreds of them. Not animal tracks. Human footprints. Some were large. Some were small. They circled the camp over and over, as if dozens of people had spent the entire night walking around their tents. Yet none of the friends had heard a single footstep. Ryan whispered. Someone was here. Jake shook his head. No. If that many people were walking around us, we'd have heard something. Noah knelt beside one of the prints. The soil is still soft. They were made only a few hours ago. A cold silence settled over the group. Lily slowly turned her camera toward the forest. The fog hid everything beyond the first row of trees. It felt as though someone could be standing just a few feet away, watching, listening, waiting. Jake forced himself to stay calm. We're packing up. We'll reach the ranger station by afternoon. Everyone silently agreed. Within minutes, they were back on the trail. Nearly an hour passed without anyone speaking. The forest had changed. The trees seemed taller. The trail looked narrower. Even the air smelled different, carrying the scent of damp earth and old pine. Then, a whistle. Soft, clear. 3 short notes. Everyone froze. Ryan turned around. Did one of you do that? Nobody answered. The whistle came again, this time from somewhere deeper in the forest. Emma stepped closer to Jake. I don't like this. Jake raised his voice. Hello? No response. Only silence. Then, the whistle echoed once more. But now, it came from the opposite side of the trail. Noah's expression became serious. It's moving. Before anyone could react, Lily's camera slipped from her hands. She bent down to pick it up. When she stood again, Sophia was gone. Everyone looked around in confusion. Sophia, Jake called. No answer. They searched behind trees. They searched the bushes. Nothing. Ryan laughed nervously. Okay, enough joking. Come out. Only silence answered. Emma frowned. Who's Sophia? Jake stared at her.
What?
You just said her name. Emma looked confused. Did I? Jake looked at Noah. You remember Sophia, right? Noah frowned. There are 5 of us. There always have been. Jake felt his stomach tighten. No. Sophia came with us. Ryan shook his head. Jake, I think you're imagining things. Jake grabbed Lily's backpack. Look, this is Sophia's camera bag. Everyone stared at him. Ryan frowned. Jake, that's your backpack. Jake looked down. The backpack was his. Sophia's camera was gone. Jake pulled out his phone with trembling hands. He opened the photos from yesterday. Every group picture showed only 5 people. There was empty space where Sophia should have been. His breathing became uneven. This isn't possible. The others exchanged worried glances. Emma gently placed a hand on his shoulder. Jake, I think the stress is getting to you. But Jake knew what he had seen. He remembered Sophia laughing in the car. He remembered her taking photographs in Raven Creek. He remembered her pointing at the 7 footprints. So why? Why did nobody else remember her? As they continued walking, Jake glanced back one last time. Far behind them, barely visible through the fog, a lone figure stood between the trees. The figure held a camera in its hands. Without moving, without making a sound, it slowly raised one hand and waved. Jake blinked. The figure was gone. Only the endless forest remained. For the first time since entering the Devil's Trail, Jake realized the old shopkeeper hadn't been warning them about getting lost. He had been warning them about being forgotten, and somewhere deep within the silent woods, something had claimed its first memory. Jake couldn't stop looking over his shoulder. Every few minutes, he expected Sophia to step out from behind a tree, laughing and accusing everyone of falling for an elaborate prank. But the forest remained silent. Only the wind answered him. The remaining hikers continued along the narrow trail, though the mood had changed completely. The jokes had disappeared. Even Ryan, who had laughed at every warning since arriving in Raven Creek, walked in silence. Jake finally stopped. Listen to me. The others turned. There were 6 of us. Emma frowned. Jake, there have always been 5. Jake shook his head. No. Sophia sat next to Lily in the car. Lily filmed her crossing the bridge. She found the 7th footprints. Ryan exchanged a worried glance with Emma. I think you're mixing up your memories. Jake's voice rose. I'm not making this up. The forest echoed his words. Then something echoed them back. I'm not making this up. The voice came from somewhere deep among the trees. It sounded exactly like Jake. Everyone froze. Ryan whispered. Did you hear that? Nobody answered. A few seconds later, laughter drifted through the fog. It sounded distant, childlike. Then it vanished. Noah looked around uneasily. We're being followed. Jake grabbed a fallen branch. Who's there? No answer. Only silence. Then 3 slow whistles echoed through the trees. The same 3 notes they had heard earlier. Closer this time. Much closer. Emma stepped backward. I want to leave. Jake nodded. So do I. They began walking faster, almost running. After another hour, Noah suddenly stopped. The trail. Everyone looked ahead. The narrow path ended abruptly at a massive pine tree. Jake frowned. This can't be right. He opened the map. According to it, the trail should have continued straight for another 3 miles. Instead, it simply ended. Ryan looked around. Maybe we took a wrong turn. Noah slowly shook his head. There wasn't another path. Emma turned in a slow circle. Then how did we get here? A cold feeling settled over the group. Jake looked behind them. The trail they had just walked was gone. Only dense forest stretched in every direction. There were no footprints, no campsite, no sign they had ever been there. Ryan whispered, this is impossible. Lily's hands trembled as she raised her camera. If we can't trust our eyes, maybe we can trust this. She began recording. The lens swept across the trees. Nothing. Then she lowered the camera and looked at the screen. Her face turned white. No. Jake hurried over. What is it? Without speaking, Lily handed him the camera. Jake pressed play. The video showed the four of them standing exactly where they were now, behind them, between the trees. A tall figure watched in complete silence. Its body was unnaturally thin. Its face was hidden beneath darkness. In its hands, it held an old camera. The figure slowly lifted the camera to its face. A bright flash filled the screen. The recording ended. Jake looked up immediately. The forest behind them was empty. The figure had vanished. Ryan backed away in panic. It was right there. It was standing right behind us. Nobody spoke. No one had heard footsteps. No one had seen it. Yet the camera had. As the group stood frozen in fear, a single sound echoed through the woods. Click. The unmistakable sound of an old camera shutter. It came from somewhere behind them. Jake spun around. Nothing. Only fog. Only trees. Only silence. But deep inside, he knew the truth. Something wasn't just watching them anymore. It was collecting them. One photograph. One memory. One person at a time. No one moved. The sound of the old camera shutter still echoed through the forest. Click. Then silence. Jake tightened his grip on the broken tree branch. His palms were damp with sweat. Keep walking, he whispered. No matter what you hear, don't stop. The others nodded. For the next hour, they walked without speaking. The fog grew thicker. Soon they could barely see more than 20 feet ahead. The trees all looked the same. Every direction seemed identical. Ryan suddenly stopped. Do you smell that? Emma sniffed the air. Smoke. Noah pointed ahead. Look. A faint trail of gray smoke rose above the trees. Someone was there. Hope rushed through the group. A cabin, Lily exclaimed. They hurried toward the smoke. After several minutes, an old wooden ranger cabin emerged from the fog. Its roof sagged under years of neglect. The windows were cracked. The wooden walls were covered in moss. Yet smoke drifted lazily from the stone chimney. Jake frowned. If someone's here, they can help us. He knocked on the door. No answer. He pushed it open. The hinges let out a long, painful creak. Inside, the cabin was empty. Dust covered every surface. Broken furniture lay scattered across the floor. Spider webs stretched across the ceiling. No fire burned in the fireplace. Yet the smell of fresh smoke filled the room. Yima whispered. Then, where's the smoke coming from? Nobody had an answer. While searching the cabin, Noah noticed an old metal box beneath a collapsed bookshelf. Inside were faded maps, a compass, and a leather-bound journal. Its cover read, Ranger Samuel Brooks, 1987. Noah carefully opened it. The first pages described ordinary patrols, wildlife sightings, weather reports, missing hikers. Then the handwriting changed. It became shaky, uneven, as if written by someone terrified. Noah read aloud. The trail changes every night. Maps become useless. The forest remembers every step. Ryan shifted uneasily. Noah continued. The thing in these woods doesn't hunt people. It hunts memory. The room fell silent. Emma looked toward Jake. Jake said nothing. Noah turned another page. When the first hiker vanished, everyone forgot him by morning. Only I remembered. Jake slowly looked up. His heart began pounding. Noah kept reading. If you're reading this, someone in your group is already gone. Soon another will disappear. Never answer voices. Never follow whistles. And if you ever see the photographer. He stopped. The remaining page had been torn out. Ryan whispered. The photographer? At that exact moment. Click. The sound came from outside the cabin. Everyone froze. Another shutter. Closer. Click. Lily slowly walked toward the dusty window. She wiped away the dirt with her sleeve. Standing among the trees, half hidden by fog, was the same tall figure. Motionless, holding the old camera. Its face remained hidden beneath darkness. Lily stepped backward. It's here. Jake rushed to the window. The figure didn't move. It simply stood there, watching. Then, the camera flashed. For a split second, the cabin was filled with blinding white light. Jake instinctively covered his eyes. When the light faded, the figure was gone. Only the empty forest remained. Ryan let out a nervous laugh. It's gone. Nobody replied. Emma slowly looked around the cabin. Where's Lily? Jake frowned. What do you mean? She was standing beside the window. Ryan looked confused. There was no Lily. Jake felt the blood drain from his face. No. He searched every corner of the cabin. Lily. No answer. He grabbed the camera lying on the floor. It was still recording. His hands trembled as he played back the footage. The video showed 6 hikers entering the cabin. Then, after the camera flash, only 5 remained. The space where Lily had stood was empty. Emma stared at Jake with concern. Who are you talking to? Jake looked at the silent camera in his hands. A few minutes earlier, Lily had been holding it. Now, no one remembered she had ever existed. Jake finally understood the terrible truth. The old camera didn't steal lives. Every photograph erased a person from reality, and somewhere beyond the fog, the photographer was waiting for its next picture. As Jake stared at the abandoned camera lying on the cabin floor, one terrifying question echoed through his mind. Who took the last photograph? The journal had warned him about the photographer, but it never explained one thing. What happens when there is only one person left to remember? Outside, the fog grew thicker. Then, click. Another camera shutter echoed through the silent forest. Jake slowly looked toward the open cabin door and froze. Someone was standing there, watching, waiting. But this time, it wasn't holding the camera. It was holding a photograph of Jake. To be continued. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Mystery Signal, and turn on notifications, because the next time you hear a camera click, it might already be too late.